Listen, I need you to sit down, lock the door, put the phone on Do Not Disturb, and pay attention to every single word coming out of my mouth right now, because what I am about to lay out for you is not gossip, it is not speculation. It is not me making something out of nothing. This is a pattern, a documented, repeating, textbook pattern of behavior that I have watched play out in real time. And the woman at the center of it is about to walk straight into the same trap she walked into the last time. And the last time, and the time before that, and she still has not learned. Cardi B is allegedly done with Stefon Diggs. That is the headline being splashed across every blog, every gossip page, every comment section, every group chat in America right now. Cardi B is walking away. Cardi B has had enough. Cardi B is fed up. Cardi B is sick and tired of being sick and tired. That is what they want you to believe. That is the narrative being carefully, surgically, strategically planted into your brain right this very second. And I am here to tell you, with my whole entire chest, that narrative is a lie. It is a beautifully wrapped, perfectly timed, publicly convenient lie, and tonight I am going to peel that lie back layer by layer until you see the truth that nobody else on this platform is willing to say out loud. Because the truth is uglier than the lie. The truth is that Cardi B is not the one doing the walking. The truth is that Cardi B is the one being walked away from. And the only reason she is rushing to grab the microphone first is because if she does not, the entire world is about to find out that for the second time in less than 2 years, Belcalis Almanzar is being quietly, methodically, professionally discarded by a man who never planned to keep her. Let me say it one more time so the back row hears me. She is not leaving him. He is leaving her. And the spin you are watching right now is the most expensive PR maneuver of her career. Now before I go a single sentence further, if you are new to this channel, welcome, take a seat, grab whatever you drink when the tea is this hot, and hit that subscribe button because we do not do koi pond commentary over here. We do not perform for clout. We do not protect celebrities who would not protect us in a courtroom. We tell women the truth even when the truth stings, and the truth tonight is going to sting. So buckle in, because this is the most important breakdown of this entire relationship saga, and I have receipts, I have timelines, I have whispers from rooms you, and I will never sit inside, and by the end of this video you are going to see Cardi, Stefon, his mother, the baby mothers, the NFL, and the entire publicity machine in a completely different light. We are going down to the studs. Let us get into it. Start at the very beginning, because in order to understand why she is moving the way she is moving right now, you have to understand what happened in the weeks leading up to this so-called breakup announcement. 3 weeks ago, maybe 4, a very specific podcast clip started making the rounds. A man, a black man, a man inside that culture, looked dead into a camera and told Stefon Diggs, point blank, no chaser, no sugar, no diplomacy, to ditch Cardi B before she ate his career alive. That was the language. Ditch her. Not pause, not slow down, not reconsider, ditch. And the internet laughed because we love a viral clip, but the people inside that man's circle did not laugh because that clip was not random. That clip was a message, and messages like that do not get sent unless somebody in the room already wants the receiver to hear them. Within days of that clip dropping, what happens? Stefon Diggs is suddenly, conveniently, mysteriously distant. The lovey-dovey photos stop. The little touchy moments at the game stop. The look at us, we are so in love energy that used to leak out of every paparazzi shot dries up overnight. And then comes the big one. The public spectacle. Cardi shows up somewhere she should not have shown up, acts in a way a woman dating an unsigned NFL free agent absolutely should not act. And the entire world watches Stefon Diggs' face do that thing his face does when he realizes he made a very expensive miscalculation. Now pause. Hold on. Stop the tape right there, because that single moment, that one public spot, is the hinge on which this entire story turns. Up until that night, Stefon was juggling. He was managing. He was, in his own messy way, attempting to thread the needle between the streets, the league, the mothers of his children, and this very loud, very famous, very competitive new woman in his life. After that night, the juggling stopped. After that night, the league quietly stepped in. After that night, the people who actually write the checks Stefon Diggs needs to cash in order to play professional football again sat that man down and said in plain English, "My brother, you are one wrong headline away from never being signed again. And we are not losing a roster spot over a girlfriend." That conversation happened. I do not care who denies it. I do not care what statement gets put out. I do not care which publicist hops on which app to clean it up. That conversation happened because everything that has occurred since lines up too cleanly to be coincidence. Watch. Right after that public moment, Stefon goes silent. Right after that public moment, the child support stories quietly start surfacing. Right after that public moment, you begin to see articles framing Stefon as a devoted father who is getting his affairs in order and setting up co-parenting schedules with multiple mothers. Right after that public moment, Stefon's actual mother, the matriarch, the woman who raised him, suddenly becomes a quote-unquote friend to Cardi. Does any of this sound organic to you? Does any of this sound like the natural evolution of a passionate young romance? Or does it sound like a man under instruction, executing a checklist handed to him by people whose job it is to make him look ignoble again? Yeah, I thought so. Now here is where it gets dark, and here is where I need the women watching this to lean in, because everything I am about to say applies to you too, not just her. The plan, allegedly, the internal plan that was discussed and agreed upon, was for Stefon's mother to absorb Cardi, to distract her, to become her new best friend, her confidant, her sounding board, her shopping partner, her late-night phone call. Because the men around Stefon, the handlers, the agent, the inner circle, they had identified the problem, and the problem had a name, and the name was clinginess. They labeled her needy. They labeled her suffocating. They labeled her, behind closed doors, as a woman who did not understand that she was supposed to be a season, not a lifetime. Let that land. Let that sit on your chest for a second. The mother of this man's child, the woman who put her entire reputation on the line to be publicly photographed with him, the woman who took the social media hit, the woman who absorbed the memes and the jokes and the Offset crowd dragging her name every single day, was being privately cataloged by his team as a logistical problem to be managed by his mama. That is what they thought of her. That is what they think of her right now. And the worst part, the part that breaks my heart and lights my fire at the same time, is that she has no idea. She thinks she is winning. She thinks she is in love. She thinks the silence is a misunderstanding, the distance is the season, the mother-in-law energy is a sign of acceptance, when the reality is that every single one of those things is a containment strategy. They are not welcoming her into the family. They are politely walling her off until the contract is signed. Now you might be sitting there saying, hold on, slow down, why would Cardi B, of all people, a woman with money, a woman with platform, a woman with a Grammy on the shelf and a fan base that would burn down the internet for her, why would she walk back into the exact same furnace she just barely climbed out of with Offset? And that, my loves, is the question. That is the only question that matters. Because the answer to that question is not about Stefon. The answer to that question is about her. About the wiring. About the pattern. About the very specific kind of woman who confuses obsession for devotion, who confuses chaos for chemistry, who confuses being chased for being chosen. Cardi B is not chasing love. Cardi B is chasing a feeling. And the feeling she is chasing is the feeling of winning. Because Cardi is, above all else, a competitor. You take everything else away, you strip the makeup off, you take the wigs off, you take the stage off, you take the money off, and what you are left with is a deeply, profoundly competitive human being who has never in her life lost gracefully and is not about to start now. Stefon Diggs is not her boyfriend. Stefon Diggs is the trophy. And right now, somewhere in the back of her mind, there is an alarm going off telling her the trophy is sliding off the shelf, and her competitive instinct is overriding every survival instinct she has ever built. That is why the breakup story leaked the way it leaked. That is why she is rumored to be the one walking away. That is why the framing is so aggressive, so public, so loud. Because if you cannot win the man, you can at least win the narrative. If you cannot keep him, you can at least be the one who left first. And in the brutal arithmetic of celebrity love, being the dumper instead of the dumpee is worth millions in image protection. So she is moving first. She is leaking first. She is telling her friends first. She is making sure every blog with a phone gets the same line, the same energy, the same angle, that she, Cardi B, multi-platinum, multi-millionaire, mother of three, is the one who decided she had had enough. It is brilliant. It is sad. It is calculated. And it is not going to work, and I am going to tell you exactly why. Now let me slow down for a second, because I want you to really sit with the math of this thing, because the math is what tells you everything you need to know. Cardi B and Offset officially called it quits, summer of last year, depending on which divorce filing you count as the real one. That was 12, 13, maybe 14 months ago. By the time the ink was dry on those papers, this woman had already been seen, photographed, whispered about, and then publicly confirmed in proximity to Stefon Diggs. Read that sentence again. The transition was not a year. The transition was not 6 months. The transition was, in some accounts, measured in weeks. And I am not saying that to drag her, I am saying that to point out a very specific psychological reality, which is that a woman who jumps from one high-profile, high-drama, high-volume relationship directly into another high-profile, high-drama, high-volume relationship is not a woman in love. That is a woman in motion. That is a woman who cannot sit still inside her own life long enough to ask herself what she actually wants. That is a woman using a man like a bridge instead of a destination. And the problem with bridges is that they collapse the second you stop walking on them. So when I say the foundation of this entire Cardi and Stefon situation was rotten from day one, I am not being cruel, I am being accurate. They did not build a relationship. They built a rebound dressed in designer. And rebounds, no matter how loud they are, no matter how many magazine covers they generate, no matter how many courtside photos they produce, are not architecture. Rebounds are weather. And the weather is changing right now in real time, and the woman holding the umbrella is the only one in the entire stadium who has not noticed that it is already raining. Let me give you another data point that nobody is talking about, because nobody else is doing the actual homework. Look at the timing of every single piece of positive Stefon Diggs press that has dropped in the last 45 days. Just look at it. The doting father feature. The quiet philanthropist angle. The focused athlete in the gym at 5 in the morning leak. The humble servant of the game narrative. Every single one of those stories has been placed by somebody. Stories like that do not write themselves. Stories like that do not get picked up by the major outlets by accident. Somebody, somewhere, in a corner office, with a PR budget, made phone calls to get those articles produced, and the timing of those phone calls maps perfectly onto the timeline of his free agency negotiations. You are not watching a man find religion. You are watching a man find representation. And the representation is doing exactly what good representation does, which is dragging the client back into the lane that pays. Cardi B is not in that lane. Cardi B has never been in that lane. Cardi B cannot fit in that lane even if she tried, and she cannot try, because her entire brand is built on not fitting. And that is the fundamental contradiction that makes this relationship impossible to save. He needs quiet. She is incapable of quiet. He needs invisible. She is incapable of invisible. He needs a partner who can sit on a couch in a stadium suite and clap politely. She is incapable of sitting on a couch in any room in any city for more than 12 seconds at a time. And neither of them is wrong for being who they are. They are just wrong for each other, and the longer they pretend otherwise, the more public the unraveling becomes. Now I want to talk about something that has been bothering me all week, because I keep seeing it in the comments, I keep seeing it in the reposts, I keep seeing it in the so-called T videos racing to get clicks off this story. People keep saying, oh, this is just a normal couple going through a normal rough patch, let them work it out. And every time I see that, I want to slam my laptop closed and go for a walk, because that framing is exactly the kind of soft, kind, well-meaning lie that keeps women trapped in relationships that are eating them alive. There is no rough patch here. There is no working it out. There is a structural mismatch between two people whose lives literally cannot coexist at this scale, and pretending the issue is a misunderstanding is how women lose entire decades to men who were never going to choose them. Stefon Diggs is not a misunderstanding. Stefon Diggs is a man with a clearly stated career goal, a clearly stated public image strategy, a clearly stated family configuration. And Cardi B is not in any of those statements except as a footnote his team is trying to delete in the next edit. Read that twice. She is a footnote his team is trying to delete in the next edit. That is what is happening here. The hardest part, the part that hurts to type out loud, is that she could have been so much more if she had picked a different door. The Cardi B of 3 years ago, before the Offset spiral, before the public arguments, before the on-again off-again exhaustion, that version of Cardi was unstoppable. She was the loudest voice in hip-hop. She was the queen of every red carpet she stepped on. She had the world on a string. And then she got tangled up in a man she could not save, and instead of cutting the rope, she tied it tighter, and the rope started cutting her instead. And just when she finally cut herself free, she walked across the street and picked up a brand new rope and started tying again. That is the part that hurts. That is the part one cannot stop turning over in my head. Because every woman watching this, every single one of us, has been the woman with the rope at least once in her life. And the question is not whether you have been her. The question is what made you finally put the rope down. For some of us it was a friend. For some of us, it was a therapist. For some of us, it was rock bottom and a hospital bed and a long, quiet ride home. But for all of us, the moment we put the rope down, our entire life changed, and we never picked it back up because we finally understood that the rope was never the relationship. The rope was our own willingness to keep tying. Cardi has not had her moment yet. Cardi is still tying. And the people closest to her are not handing her scissors, they're handing her better rope. Let me say something about Stefon's mother for a second, because she keeps getting mentioned and I want to be careful here, because I do not know that woman, I have not spoken to that woman. And I would never assassinate the character of somebody's mama based on internet whispers. But I will say this. When a man's mother is suddenly, urgently, performatively positioned as the new best friend of his girlfriend at exactly the same moment that his career advisors are pushing him to scale down public exposure with that same girlfriend, you do not need to be a psychologist to see the play. You just need to be a woman who has ever had a future mother-in-law treat her like a project instead of a person. There is a specific energy that a woman gives off when she is being absorbed instead of welcomed, when she is being studied instead of loved, when she is being managed instead of accepted. And any woman watching this video who has lived through that energy is nodding her head right now because she knows exactly what I am describing. The mama is not the villain in this story. The mama is the cleanup crew. And cleanup crews do not show up unless there is already a mess on the floor that somebody has decided needs to be quietly mopped up before the next showing. That is the role she is being asked to play, allegedly, according to the chatter, and whether she accepted that role out of love for her son, out of distrust of Cardi, out of pure family loyalty, or out of some combination of all three, the function of her presence is the same. Buffer, filter, cushion, distract, soften, slow down. By time. Until what? Until the contract. Always until the contract. Everything in this entire situation is being staged around the contract, and once you see the contract, you cannot unsee it, and every single move on the board starts making horrifying, clinical, professional sense. Now let me get into something that I have been holding back on because I wanted to make sure I had my words right. There is a very real possibility that none of this ends in a clean breakup. There is a very real possibility that what we get instead is something messier, something publicly humiliating, something Cardi cannot recover from quickly. And the reason I say that is because Cardi, by her own admission, by her own track record, by her own televised behavior, does not exit relationships gracefully. She exits them in shrapnel. She exits them in lawsuits, in subtweets, in Instagram lives, in courtroom appearances, in voice notes that get leaked, in receipts that get screenshotted, in shoes that get thrown. And the men around Stefon Diggs know that. They have studied her exit pattern. They have built their strategy around the assumption that whatever the exit looks like, it is going to be loud, and they are working overtime to make sure that the loudness, when it comes, does not stick to him. That is why the mama narrative exists. That is why the doting father narrative exists. That is why the quiet philanthropist narrative exists. They are building a moat around his image so that when the inevitable explosion happens, the shrapnel hits her brand and bounces off his. That is professional. That is calculated. That is the difference between a man with a publicist and a man without one. And Cardi, for all of her own brilliant instincts, does not appear to have anybody in her corner running the same playbook. She has yes men. She has stylists. She has assistants. She has a beauty team. She has a glam squad. But the kind of cold, cynical, 3 moves ahead strategist that Stefon Diggs has access to right now, she does not have one. And in this kind of war, the side without a strategist always loses, no matter how much money or talent or charisma they bring to the field. So here is my prediction, on the record, timestamped, dated. Watch what I am about to say. In the next 60 to 90 days, you're going to see one of 3 things happen, and I want you to come back to this video when one of them does, because I called it. Option 1. A mystery woman starts appearing in the periphery of Stefon's social media. Not a girlfriend. Not officially. Just a face. Just a vibe. Just a family friend who keeps showing up at the right gym, the right dinner, the right charity event. That is the soft launch. That is the test balloon. They're floating her to see how Cardi reacts in public so they can calibrate the next move. Option 2. A pregnancy rumor drops, sourced from people close to the family, involving a woman the public has never heard of. The timing will be impeccable. It will land within a week of either a contract announcement or a major Cardi public appearance, and it will be designed to do exactly one thing, which is to give Cardi a face-saving reason to walk away. They are giving her the exit. They are wrapping it in a bow. They are saying, here, Baby, take this. Hold your head high. Leave the relationship as the wronged woman instead of the discarded one, and we all move on. Option 3, and this is the darkest one, is that nothing public happens at all, and instead what happens is a slow, agonizing, 6-month fade where Stefon simply becomes less and less available. The calls go to voicemail more often. The visits get shorter. The excuses get more elaborate, until one morning Cardi wakes up and realizes she has not actually been in a relationship for 2 months, and she has been performing one for the cameras all by herself. That option is the most likely. That option is the cheapest. That option carries the least legal and public relations risk. And that option is the one that will destroy her the most, because there will be no event to point at, no villain to blame, no headline to fight back against. Just silence. Just absence. Just the slow, dawning realization that the thing she fought so hard to build was a stage set, and somebody quietly disassembled it while she was busy looking at the lights. Now I want to take a sharp left turn for a moment, because I've been getting messages all week from women who say they see themselves in Cardi, and I want to talk to those women directly. If you are a woman who has ever loved a man who could not love you back the way you needed him to, if you have ever stayed too long, fought too hard, given too much, settled too low, accepted too little, justified too much, forgiven too quickly, or rebuilt too soon, this part is for you. Put your phone down for 1 second. Look up. Take a breath. And ask yourself, when was the last time a man worked as hard to keep you as you have been working to keep him? Ask yourself, when was the last time a man rearranged his life, his schedule, his image, his career, his calendar, his loyalties, his priorities, his family, his everything in order to make space for you, the way you have been doing for him? Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt chosen instead of tolerated? And if you cannot answer that question, or if the answer is so far back you have to squint to remember it, then I want you to understand that what you are in is not a relationship. What you are in is a job, and the pay is bad, the hours are long, the benefits are non-existent, and the boss is not coming to your retirement party. Quit. I am serious. Quit the job. Take your life back. Build something with a woman who actually wants you to thrive instead of a man who wants you to stand still. Because the truth is, every Cardi B story is somebody's personal story in a louder costume. And the only difference between her ending and yours is that hers will be on the front page of the internet and yours will be in the quiet of your own apartment at 2 in the morning. And one of those endings is still recoverable and the other one is the one she is about to live through whether she likes it or not. Let me come back to the specifics. There is something else I have not mentioned yet, and it is important, and it is going to sound petty until you sit with it for a minute, and then it is going to sound terrifying. Cardi B and Stefon Diggs have never, not once, not on a single occasion, not in a single video, not in a single interview, not in a single photo dump, talked about a future. They have talked about right now. They have talked about how they feel in the moment. They have talked about how connected they are. They have talked about chemistry, vibes, energy, alignment, all the soft buzzwords that mean absolutely nothing in a courtroom or a contract or a baby's birth certificate. But neither of them, not once, has spoken in the kind of concrete, grounded, future tense language that real partners use when they are actually planning a life together. No, when we. No, in 5 years. No, by the time the baby is in school. No, after the season is over. Just vibes. Just energy. Just right now. And right now, my loves, is a category that always, always, always expires. The gaps tell you more than the headlines ever will, and the gap in this story is enormous. There is also the issue of how Cardi's children fit into all of this. She has 3 babies now. 3. And in every single iteration of every single one of her adult relationships, the babies have somehow ended up as either the audience or the casualties, and never the priority. I am not here to mom shame anybody. But I am here to say, gently and clearly, that the longer Cardi keeps building her romantic life on top of unstable men, the more those babies are going to absorb a definition of love that is going to follow them into their own relationships in 20 years. That is the legacy piece that nobody wants to look at. Cardi has a chance right now, today, to break that cycle. She has a chance to look at the 3 little humans who came out of her body and decide that the next man who walks into their lives is going to walk in correctly or not at all. That is the queen move. That is the move that 10 years from now will still be paying dividends in those babies' emotional vocabularies. Stefon Diggs is not that move. Stefon Diggs, with all due respect to whoever he is as a human being, is a placeholder. He is a season. He is a chapter. He is a stop on the way to somewhere else. And if she insists on making him the destination, The destination is going to make a fool out of her in a way that the Offset chapter, as bad as it was, only hinted at. Here is what the public narrative misses, and here is the angle nobody else on this platform is touching tonight. Everybody is so busy debating who is leaving who that nobody is asking the real question, which is, what does Stefon Diggs actually need to do to make sure this woman never comes back? Because that is the chess move in motion right now. And in my professional, sanctified, deeply researched opinion, there is one move and one move only that guarantees a clean break, and Stefon Diggs is being quietly walked toward that move by the same people who handed him the checklist. The move is a baby. I said what I said. The move is a baby with somebody who is not Cardi. Because Stefon Diggs already knows, his team already knows, his mother already knows, that Cardi does not respond to silence. She does not respond to space. She does not respond to soft exits. And she absolutely does not respond to a mama-mediated friendship. She responds to one thing and one thing only, and that thing is a public, irrefutable, headline-grabbing reason she cannot spin in her favor. A pregnancy announcement from another woman, dropped at exactly the right time, is the only nuclear option that ends this thing without a 6-month dragged-out tabloid war that risks his contract. Now, I am not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. I am saying that the chessboard has been set up in exactly the position where that move becomes the most logical, the most efficient, and the most career-protective play available, and the men around him know it. Watch the next 90 days. Watch the headlines. Watch which woman starts showing up in proximity. Watch which family friend suddenly gets a profile feature. Watch which Instagram account starts gaining followers for no organic reason. Because the seeds are already being planted, and the bloom is going to be ugly. Now I know what some of you are about to type in the comments. You are about to say, Tisa, you are being too hard on her. She is grown. She is happy. Leave her alone. Let her live. Let her love. And to those of you typing that, I love you, I see you, and I want you to hear me with the same energy I am giving everybody else. I am not coming for Cardi B. I am coming for the pattern. I am coming for the part of the culture that tells women, especially black women, especially loud women, especially women who came from nothing and built an empire with their own 2 hands, that their value is measured by who is willing to keep them. That is the lie I am here to dismantle tonight. Cardi does not need Stefon to validate her existence. Cardi does not need an NFL husband to complete her resume. Cardi does not need a man whose mother has to be assigned to babysit her emotionally just so he can focus on getting drafted. Cardi needs the same thing every single one of us needs, which is to sit down, get quiet, and ask herself why the only kind of love she recognizes is the kind that hurts on the way in and humiliates on the way out. Because here is the truth nobody wants to tell her. The Offset thing was not bad luck. The Offset thing was a rehearsal. And if she does not interrupt the pattern, the Stefon thing is going to be the encore, except this time the world is watching with less sympathy. The babies are older, the brand is bigger, and the fall is going to be louder. I do not want that for her. I do not want that for any of us. So when I say she is not done with him, I am not being cute, I am not being shady, I am being precise. She is not done with him because she has not yet hit the floor where done becomes possible. Done is not a press release. Done is not a leak source. Done is not a strategically timed walkaway designed to protect a vanity metric. Done is a quiet morning by yourself when you finally hear your own voice again and realize you have been performing a relationship for the algorithm instead of living one for your soul. Cardi is not there yet. She might never get there. But until she does, every blog headline announcing her independence is going to be followed 3 weeks later by a sighting, a hug, a photo, a re-entry, a reconciliation, a retraction, and the cycle resets. We have seen this movie. We know the ending. The only person who has not figured out the script is the woman starring in it. Now let me zoom out for a second, because there is a bigger story underneath this story, and the bigger story is the NFL. Make no mistake, the people pulling the levers on Stefon Diggs' image right now are not doing it because they love him. They are doing it because they have invested in him. And an unsigned player with court cases pending and a viral girlfriend is not an investment. It is a liability. The league does not care about Cardi B. The league does not care about Stefon Diggs as a human being. The league cares about jersey sales, broadcast deals, sponsor optics, and quarterly numbers. And every single decision being made about how this relationship gets framed publicly, every single statement, every single leak source, every single mama as mediator strategy, is being filtered through a boardroom calculation that has nothing to do with love and everything to do with revenue. So when the announcement finally drops, Just remember that you watched a real-time case study tonight in how professional sports manages the women of professional athletes. They do not get protected. They get processed. They get absorbed. They get redirected. And when they become inconvenient, they get walked, quietly, around the back exit, while the front of the building announces a contract signing. That is the machine. That is always the machine. And Cardi B, for all her brilliance, for all her hustle, for all her bars, is currently inside that machine without an exit strategy, and the people closest to her are either too scared or too dazzled to tell her the truth. I am not scared. I am not dazzled. I am telling her right now, through this screen, woman to woman, run. Not because he is the worst man alive. Not because he is some cartoon villain. But because he is not built to be what she wants him to be, and pretending otherwise is going to cost her another 2 years she cannot get back. There is a clock on her career, on her body, on her baby's childhoods, on the version of herself she can still become. And every minute she spends fighting to win a man who has already been instructed to lose her is a minute she is stealing from the woman she is supposed to be on the other side of this. Run. Walk. Crawl. I do not care how you do it, just go. Now, before I close this out, let us talk for a second about the other women in this story, because they matter too. The mothers of his children. The ones who came before. The ones who already lived this exact phase. The ones who are watching this play out with a very specific kind of quiet because they recognize it. They lived it. They were her once. And every single one of them, allegedly, has settled into an arrangement with Stefon that works precisely because none of them tried to be the main character. They are not on red carpets. They are not on courtside seats. They are not posting matching outfits. They are co-parenting. They are receiving. They are quiet. And in the brutal economy of being attached to a man like this, quiet pays better than loud. Cardi is loud. Cardi has always been loud. Cardi built her entire empire on loud, and now the very volume that made her famous is the volume that is making her unmanageable, and the team around him is trying to figure out how to lower her without breaking her, and they are running out of time. So the mama gets dispatched. The bestie role gets offered. The soft cushion gets placed underneath her so that when the fall comes, the headlines say amicable instead of ugly. But the fall is still coming. Make no mistake. The fall is still coming. The only question left is whether she falls forward into a version of herself she can be proud of in 5 years, or whether she falls backward into a third act of this drama that none of us, including her, has the stomach to watch. I am rooting for forward. I am rooting for the morning she wakes up and decides her peace is louder than her pride. I am rooting for the version of Cardi B who one day sits in front of a camera, not in defense, not in damage control, not in spin, but in clarity and says, yeah, I almost did it again, but I caught myself. I am rooting for the catch. Because if she catches herself this time, every woman watching her catches herself a little bit too. That is the ripple. That is why we talk about this. That is why this conversation matters more than any one celebrity couple. Because somebody watching this video tonight is in a Stefon situation of her own. Somebody is rationalizing the silence. Somebody is calling the cold distance a phase. Somebody is letting his mama replace her own intuition. Somebody is rehearsing the breakup announcement in her head, not because she wants to leave, but because she is terrified of being left. And if that somebody is you, baby, I am talking to you directly. Take this as your sign. Not from me. From the universe. From your ancestors. From the woman in your bloodline who survived something just so you could be the one to break the cycle. Move first, but move toward yourself, not away from him. Those are two completely different exits, and one of them leads home, and the other one leads back to the same hallway dressed in a different wallpaper. Choose home. Always choose home. So where does this leave us tonight? It leaves us watching. It leaves us waiting. It leaves us paying attention to the small things, because the small things are about to start telling the big story. Watch his social media for the pivot. Watch her interviews for the rehearsal lines. Watch the gossip cycle for the strategically planted pregnancy rumor. Watch the Mama and Cardi photo ops for either escalation or sudden silence. Watch the NFL transaction wire for the contract that triggers the final phase. And when the dust settles and the smoke clears and the headlines finally catch up to what you and I are talking about right now, I want you to remember that you heard it here first. Not because I am psychic, not because I am special, but because I am paying attention to a pattern that the rest of the internet is too entertained to see. We are not entertained tonight. We are educated. There is a difference. Drop a comment and tell me where you stand. Tell me if you think she is actually going to walk this time. Tell me if you think he is going to pull the nuclear move and bring a new baby announcement into the chat. Tell me if you think his mama is friend or assignment. Tell me if you see yourself in this story, even a little bit, because the comment section tonight is going to be its own kind of healing, and I want every woman in here to know she is not alone in recognizing the script. We are going to be back. We are going to be watching. We are going to be tracking every move, every photo, every leak, every silence, because this story is nowhere near finished, and the next chapter is going to be the loudest one yet. Hit subscribe so you do not miss it. Turn the notifications on, because when the next shoe drops, I want you in the front row when we break it down. Until then, protect your peace, guard your name, watch the patterns, trust your gut, and remember, the woman who walks first is not always the woman who wins, but the woman who walks toward herself every single time, always does. I love you for watching. I love you for thinking. I love you for refusing to be entertained into your own erasure. Talk to y'all soon. Peace. And that, my loves,